All right. Hi, I'm your host on this evening, Paula Shelby, here on Digging Deep with Paula. Listen, we got a very good special show on tonight. I'm excited to be doing this. Yes, it's been a while, but I'm glad to be back. Thank you all for tuning in. Listen, we're going to do a topic on tonight that is so prevalent in the world today, and especially in America. And this even kind of hits close to home. I'm excited to be talking about it, but hate the fact that we have to talk about it because of what's been going on. Well, what are you talking about, Paula? I'm talking about mental illness. Mental illness is real. It is more real and more prevalent nowadays than it has been ever. And especially with the pandemic going on, different things have been happening with the fear that has been loosed on the earth. And so, with that being said, on tonight, I have my very good special guest and friend on tonight who is going to talk about mental illness. Tonight, I present to you, and some of you already know her, but Dr. Tracy Webster Cooley. She's going to talk tonight about mental illness. I'm going to let her introduce herself and all her credentials because it's going to seem like she's bragging on herself, but you got to tell your accomplishments. It's not bragging. It is who you are. So this is Dr. Tracy Webster Cooley. How you doing tonight, Tracy?
Hello, Paula. I want to thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show.
Yes.
I am so pleased.
No, I'm privileged because this is something that needs to be talked about. Like I said, it's hitting close to home from I'm seeing somebody up close and personal, and I just want to be able to understand what this is and how this looks.
Well, first of all, as Paula mentioned, my name is Dr. Tracy Webster Cooley. I currently work in the School of Nursing at Southern Illinois University in Evansville. I am an assistant professor there. I also am currently being credentialed as a psychiatric nurse practitioner. I completed my degree during the pandemic, my doctorate degree and my psych nurse practitioner degree, which I completed that August of 2020. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so now, Tracy, tell me how you come to get into this field, and why is this field so important and special to you?
This field is so important to me because, number one, I have experienced mental challenges. I have experienced depression. I have seen family members experience so many different mental challenges, emotional challenges, and it hits home for me.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, like I said, I am experiencing and this up close and personal for me as well. And then I think what I've come to learn is that what mental illness looks like. So let me ask you this question, Tracy, because everybody you see mental illness as, let's just say, quote unquote, crazy. But that's not just what mental illness is. And we don't even use that term because that's such a negative stigma on that term, crazy.
Yes.
Now they made it fun where they call it cray-cray now. But but we want to be able to define what is mental illness and what does that look like. What is mental illness today?
Well, first of all, anyone that experiences any mental challenges, they are unable to cope effectively in everyday life.
Wow.
So when you experience a mental challenge, it's going to affect the way you think.
Okay.
It's going to affect your mood, and it can even affect your behavior.
Okay. Okay.
So that is going to cause you some distress.
All right.
Someone that is mentally healthy will be able to make good decisions.
Yes.
They're going to be able to problem solve.
Okay.
They're going to identify when they need some help.
Okay.
They know when they're starting to get stressed out.
All right.
Someone that is experiencing mental challenges, they're not going to be able to do that.
Okay. So that's the difference between not having it and having it, or wrestling with it,
Yes.
if I could say it like
Yes.
that. Because we don't want to make it like you have contracted something,
Right.
but wrestling with that or going into the stages of it. So now, Tracy, Dr. Tracy, is there stages of mental illness?
I wouldn't say that there are stages,
Okay.
but different disorders
Okay.
are more severe than others.
So you could have a mild case of mental illness.
Yeah, I would say that, yes.
Okay.
So, for instance, someone experiencing schizophrenia,
Uh-huh.
They will experience hallucinations.
Okay.
So hearing voices, those voices could tell them to harm themselves or harm
Okay.
someone else.
Okay.
They could have visual hallucinations where they see things that other people don't see. So that's severe. That is
Okay.
very disturbing to those individuals.
Wow.
And it will definitely impair their everyday functioning.
Wow. So give me an example of what a mild case would. I'm saying the word mild, but not being illiterate to all the terminology. But what is like a mild case of mental illness?
I would say someone experiencing anxiety prior to coming on your show like I am right now.
Well, I guess I'm experiencing some too, but I'm the same way.
But I'm able to identify that
Okay.
I'm experiencing anxiety. I know why I am experiencing the anxiety.
Okay, I see.
Okay.
Okay, so then a person who is experiencing cannot differentiate what's going on or why it's happening. They just know it is taking place.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. So in order to be able to get that dealt with, you have to recognize that it is an issue.
Yes, because some people don't realize that they are experiencing some mental challenges.
So does depression fall in that category?
Yes. Some people are chronically depressed and don't realize it.
Okay.
You can be chronically depressed and still able to function in everyday life.
Now see, that's something right there, because you would never know that somebody was chronically depressed because they're able to still get out of bed,
Yes.
go to work, perform their work duties, and go back home and crawl back into bed.
Yep.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so then Dr. Tracy, does this differ from teenagers to adults? How it looks or how it is acted. I can say the word acted out.
Okay. Children experience the symptoms definitely different from adults.
Okay.
Children and adolescents, well, I would say children have more somatic complaints. So
Okay.
they may complain about headache, stomach ache, so they won't have to go to school. Adolescents tend to be more irritable and aggressive.
Okay.
When they're experiencing, especially with depression.
Yes.
When a child starts to back off from activities that they used to enjoy, for
Okay.
instance, if they just all of a sudden quit the baseball team or quit the soccer team, you need to start thinking, what is going on
Wow.
with that kid?
So those are signs.
Yeah, those are signs. And sometimes we ignore those signs or we don't identify that it can be an issue because, maybe that child does when they get home from school, go to their room and do their homework.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But when they just up and quit
Yes.
something that they have always enjoyed,
Oh, wow.
we need to start thinking, what has occurred? What has happened?
And you know what? I can see that in people that I know. So why I just did. No reasoning that they could give us, and they probably can't even identify it either.
No.
Wow, mental illness is real. So then, does mental illness, does it come about from environments or trauma or, what can cause mental illness to come on?
Okay, well, let me go back to talking about COVID and the pandemic.
Okay, let's go
And I will
there.
tell you
Because that's what's prevalent right now.
And I will tell you what happened to me.
Okay.
I got infected with the virus back in August of 2020.
All right.
It affected pretty much every system in my body.
Wow.
I am still trying to recover from COVID.
From 2020 of August.
From 2020.
Okay.
It affected my memory. So now I experience brain fog. Yeah, that's why I have my notes. Because sometimes mid-sentence, I can't, oh my goodness, what was I going to say?
Okay.
So yeah, brain fog is real.
Wow. Okay. We just we joke and call it a Alzheimer's moment or something like that.
No, it's real.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So that's why I have my little notes here. I know there's certain things I wanted to share this evening.
Yes.
But I know that I was going to forget.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm glad because sometimes that can take place just because of the fact there's so much to be explained, there's so much to share. So thank God for the notes, right? Okay, so then what are some, is there such thing as triggers, things that will allow you to have a relapse or things that make happen? So is there such thing as triggers with mental illness?
Yes. Number one trigger, stress. Stress is a precursor to any mental disorder. Stress will exacerbate the symptoms. If you already are experiencing, let's say, depression,
Yes.
Anxiety,
Wow.
schizophrenia, stress will exacerbate the symptoms. So stress is a huge factor.
Wow. So stress untreated can do what?
Oh, stress untreated can lead to depression. Stress untreated can cause physical complications on your body.
Such as ulcers?
Ulcers.
Wow. Wow. Can't eat? Can't keep stuff down? Would that all be a factor?
Yes, yes. It can affect your cardiovascular system. So stress, yeah.
Wow.
I would say stress is a silent killer.
And during the pandemic, there's a lot of people stressing because of the fact that they want the normalcy of what life was to come back. And they need to face the fact that some things are not going to go back to what we call quote unquote normal.
That's true.
So they got to find a new way of doing things, new way of working, new way of going to school, and then, being maxed up doesn't even make it even better. But it's for our safety. So I'm not against masking.
Right.
I'm for it. Wow. So then, is there a cure? I'm asking people who may have questions. Is there a cure for mental illness, or should we even use that word, a cure?
There's no cure.
Okay.
I feel, this is my personal opinion, I don't feel that there's a cure.
Okay.
But we can help people manage their symptoms.
Okay.
And we can help them manage their symptoms through medication.
Okay.
Therapy.
Okay.
Helping them to change their thinking, their thought process.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So do they have to do time out, take breaks, vacations, and stuff like that to be able to help relieve your thought pattern, your stress levels, and all of this?
Sometimes you need to step away and regroup.
Okay.
Because you can get so overwhelmed.
Yes.
That it will definitely affect your mental status.
Wow.
So you need to step away. You need to take a mental health day.
Mm-hmm.
You need to take vacations. Because when you're so overwhelmed, you're not able to really think appropriately about the things that you need to do. Mm-hmm. You may make decisions that are not in your best interest.
Wow.
Yes.
And so let's get to environment. Can your environment have a part to play on you having mental illness battles?
Oh, yes. Your environment can lead you down the road of depression. The people in your household, if that environment is chaotic,
yes,
you're at risk for developing a mental disorder, depression, anxiety, thoughts of wanting to harm yourself.
Right.
Lack, not having enough.
So fears play a part in mental illness.
Oh yeah, fear will immobilize you. Fear will lead to avoidant behaviors. And some of those behaviors will keep you from pursuing your dreams.
Wow.
It will keep you from going to work.
Mm-hmm. So fears can push you to the limit of really suicide.
Oh yes. Yes.
Wow. So mental illness is that broad. So does mental illness also have effect on your social skills?
Oh yeah, because you will not interact appropriately with other individuals.
So and now with the pandemic going on, people have begin to lose their social skills because we've been isolated, and then of course social media didn't make it any better, correct?
Well, I had this conversation with my son.
Okay.
And we talked about this.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that the pandemic has lose social skills, but it has changed the way we interact with people.
Okay.
So we had to learn how to adjust to socialize.
Okay.
And we did that through on the platform of social media,
Uh-huh.
Twitter.
Yes.
I will say that it gave some people a lot of confidence to say things that they would normally say in someone's face.
Okay.
So now with children, because they're so young and they're still learning how to socialize, and their brain is still developing. So yes, I would say that it has definitely had a greater impact on them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, and then if you're more isolated, it does, affect you from knowing how to interact with people. So I do get that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So now, people who don't like to take medicine, they're into the herbal way of doing things, or the natural way, alternatives. Is there a way that they can do that without having to take medications for mental illness?
Well, it really depends on where they're at. Because if you are experiencing a chemical imbalance in your brain,
yes,
you need some medication.
Okay.
There are different herbals and other therapies out there, alternative practices that a person can pursue to help them with their mental challenges, help improve their mood. So there's different things out there that you can do when you don't want to take medication. And there's a lot of individuals out there that are into the holistic medicine and not wanting to take antipsychotics or antidepressants because of what it does on your body. But I would say, when a person is experiencing severe symptoms, sometimes you may need to take some medication to get you over the hump.
Right.
And then once you change your thought process, change how you think, eliminate stress from your life, develop appropriate coping skills to deal with stressors, come off the medicine.
Yeah. Okay. So it has to do with some of the ability that the person has to deal with doing themselves. They just can't rely on the medicine alone to help them out.
No. Okay. You have to put some other therapies in place.
Okay.
It's more than just taking the medication. You have to change your negative thought patterns.
Yeah.
And replace them with more positive thinking.
And your environment.
Yes, your environment. That's true.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You may have to change your friends, because sometimes people can be toxic.
Yes. And toxic relationships.
Yes.
Yeah. Even it can even be with your parents. If you're grown, then sometimes you're gonna have to put a space and distance between you and your parents. You always love your parents, but you have to know what's gonna work for you. If your parents are toxic, heaven forbid, but we do have toxic parents.
Yes.
Then you got to distance yourself so that you don't become what you see your parents doing in the environment. Well, Dr. Tracy, tell me why it is such a negative connotation or stigma on mental illness. Does it come from the history, from the past of mental illness?
Yes, it does. But let me say this. This was one of the reasons why I wanted to get into mental health.
Okay.
Because of stigma.
Okay.
Stigma will cause someone not to seek out help.
Because embarrassed or ashamed.
Because they're embarrassed about being diagnosed with a mental disorder. It's easier to say, I have cancer, I have diabetes, than to go up to someone and say, hey, I'm suffering from schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Or I'm suffering from depression.
Yeah.
Because people tend to consider it as a flaw in your character.
Yeah. And nobody wants to be thought of being character flaw.
No. And I just received a grant from the Illinois Higher Board of Education to continue my research. So,
wow, awesome.
When I was completing my psych practitioner degree, I had to implement a project or do some type of research study. And I connected with the behavioral health organization in St. Louis.
Okay.
So I didn't exactly know where I was going to be able to implement this project because my focus was on mental health and also faith interventions or how to bring faith into it and to see how things work.
Because faith is positivity. So,
Yes.
yeah.
One of my friends prompted me to reach out to the behavioral health organization in St. Louis. And when I went in to talk to them about my focus area, they had just initiated a program called Bridges to Care and Recovery, where they connected with 65 churches in the metropolitan area.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So they went in and educated the congregants, willing congregants, that wanted to be point people in the church that individuals that were experiencing mental health issues could come to. So they provided mental health first aid training. They provided education on substance use. They provided education on how to manage stress and all of these things that can contribute to your mental, that can lead you down the road to have experiencing mental issues. So I went in and evaluated the training that the wellness champions received. So at that time, it was 122 of those wellness champions. Now, initially...
Now, wait, what is wellness champions?
Wellness champions are the individuals that participated in the training. So that's who they identified them as. So initially, I was going to do face-to-face and go to their monthly meetings and get to know them and interact and administer my survey. But here comes the pandemic. So I had to transition the project from face-to-face to virtual. The organization over there, fantastic. I mean, they backed me 100%.
Wow.
They sent my survey out to the wellness champions.
Wow.
At first I was upset because I knew that I wasn't going to get the response that I wanted. 18 people ended up filling out my survey. And out of the 18, 8 elected to do a one-on-one conversation with me. And which I got some really rich data from that because I was able to dig a little deeper about about their role as wellness champions. So one of the goals was to initiate the program was to decrease stigma. Because there is so much stigma associated with mental issues. And another thing that was going on over there in St. Louis was individuals, police officers, not knowing how to interact with those individuals. So
because you don't identify it as that's being crazy.
No.
They would identify being crazy, not having mental illness, or being defiant. Not someone who's really needing help.
So that was another reason why they implemented that program.
Wow.
So my research study was titled Utilizing Wellness Champions as a Faith-Based Initiative for Mental Health Promotion. And let me tell you something. After I spoke with some of those wellness champions, their whole outlook about mental illness changed.
Because when you don't know, you judge.
Yes, you do. Yes. And several of them told me it allowed me to have more compassion.
And we need that.
Yes.
Just because it's not your struggle does not mean, as they say, the struggle is real. It's just not your struggle. So compassion is needed because they're not in control yet of their emotions and their thought patterns to be able to function well with others and in society.
That's correct. And I always tell my students, we're all 10% from crossing over that other side. If we don't have a good support system, if we don't have coping skills, if we're not resilient and know how to get through our struggles, we can end up depressed. Let me tell you, COVID almost took me there. I experienced a lot of mental challenges during COVID.
And you know what, you said something, Dr. Tracy, which means a lot is support. It doesn't matter what you're going through. You need support for everything.
Yes,
You need support even in the highs, not just in the lows, but in the highs.
Yes.
And so support means a lot. So you got some people out here who are battling this issue that have no support, nobody to encourage them that you can do this and you can make this happen, and you are worth something and you are somebody.
That is so true. Lack of support is one of the main reasons that people relapse. If you don't have that good support system, if you're not connected with somebody that can motivate you, yeah.
Wow. Well, listen, y'all, and I can understand why the stigma, because we were coming up as kids and we saw, somebody walking down the street talking to themselves and, dressed funny.
Yeah.
We would label them immediately. Don't talk to them, don't deal with them. But then when you happen to run up on one and they speak to you, be like, they was talking normal.
Right.
So we would say something like normal, and put that stigma on them. But they are human beings.
Yes, they
with
are.
Feelings and emotions.
Yes, and they want to be respected.
Yes.
They want to be respected. And here's the thing, many years ago, they treated people with mental illness so inhumanely. Oh my God, it was terrible how they treated those individuals. Back then, and I don't know what, if it was in the 1600s, 1700s, but once again, the Christians, pillars of the community, dealt with individuals that experienced mental illness. So you had your priests and your clergymen who would actually call themselves treating them.
Yes.
So they identified or associated mental illness with someone committing sin.
Wow.
Or you were possessed.
Yes, possessed.
Sure. So they would have these exorcisms.
Yes.
And then when the exorcisms were not successful, they sent them away. So you also had these prehistoric healers, that's what they call themselves, that would engage in these different types of surgeries to the extent where they would drill holes in the heads of those individuals, remove bones from the skull, thinking that they were releasing spirits, evil spirits.
Well, that's a true reason to say the word practicing.
Yes. And when that was not successful, they were sent away. I mean, they would torture them. They would chain them up. They would put these metal helmets and things over their face and
human beings.
Yes, human beings. They banished them to these one-room homes, these asylums, with only one bathroom. So imagine 20 or 30 people living in these one-room homes, showering together, access to one bathroom. So you know that people were pooping on the floor, urinating. So just
making it look like something was wrong with them.
Just disgusting.
All in the name of help, right?
Yeah.
All in the name of
help. That's what they thought.
Yeah.
But there were some people that came along and were very instrumental in making some changes. So there's a lot of history with the evolution of mental health and how we've gotten where we are today.
Yes.
Although I do feel that we still need to do better. We're not 100% in our care for this population.
Yes.
And there was a guy that I researched. He was a physician. His name was, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but Philip Cannell.
Okay.
He was a physician. So he advocated and said, okay, these individuals need to be taken care of in a medical facility. So his focus, and I found this interesting, his focus was men.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he started out with men and caring for them in a medical environment. So 2 years later, I believe, they started to work with the women and bringing them into the medical environment to care for.
Okay.
There was another guy who actually experienced the inhumane treatment that advocated for individuals to be trained in different basic skills such as basket weaving, gardening, and things like that. Because here's the thing. when they were institutionalized,
Yes.
they were there for years and years and wouldn't see their family members. So there was nothing done for them to reintegrate them back into society or back with their family members.
So they go back home to strangers. If they were to go back home, because people change all the time. You change yearly. You know, so you would keep somebody away from their family for years, and then their family has moved on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, they would be there for years and years. So, and this came about the period of deinstitutionalization, where they said, okay, we have to start developing some programs that will help transition these individuals back into the community, back to their families.
Yes.
And this reminds me of our mental health center back in the day. There's a lot of history out there.
Okay.
Because that was a very self-sufficient facility where the patients out there, they grew their own food.
Oh.
They made things. I don't know what type of things that they made, but they would sell their products to the surrounding communities.
Wow, that's teaching them skills
Yes.
and life skills.
Yes.
Okay.
And I came across a man that was housed out there that was into growing peanuts. And I thought this very interesting. He suffered from bipolar disorder, so to help with his manic episodes, he would plant peanuts, and he would take care of this peanut farm just like a baby, and will sell the product to surrounding communities.
Wow.
So there's a lot of history with mental illness. Lots of history.
Well, listen, we're going to get ready to wrap this up, but I want to first say that I'm elated to know Dr. Tracy Webster Cooley. She has just won an award. She's been given a grant. So she's not someone that's just talking about it, but she is doing something about what's happening. Listen, don't be afraid if there is challenges happening with you within. So I want Dr. Tracy to end with telling how you can get in touch with her, how you can be able to reach her, to talk to her, even ask her questions, whether you want to see her as a patient or whatever, but you just may have some questions. Sometimes just some answers to questions can help you to get a resolve and an understanding. When you don't have understanding, then you can't get answers, and then you can't make a change. Understanding is very important. So I'm gonna let Dr. Tracy get ready to close us out with how to get in touch with her, and one last word she may want to tell any of you all that have been battling with mental illness and don't even know that that is what's taking place, and what you can do to be able to get a hold of yourself and be able to function. Because I promise you, life is worth living.
Yes, it is. So I just started my organization called Transforming Minds with Words of Inspiration.
Okay.
So this is my company. You can contact me at tmwcooley@gmail.com.
Spell Cooley for us.
Cooley. If you would like to ask me any questions, if you want some counseling sessions with me, I can provide you information on how to go about that. I just want to say to everyone out there that you don't have to be embarrassed if you are experiencing any emotional challenges, because here's the thing. It's better to seek help than to go through life experiencing those challenges, because it's going to hinder. It's going to hinder what you do. It's going to keep you from pursuing some of your dreams, some of the goals and things that you want to do. It's also going to affect people around you. So you owe it to yourself to get help if you need it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Everyone experiences some type of emotional, I'll say, disabilities at times in their lives. You don't have to be ashamed. So remember one thing. Don't let your mind control you. You control your mind.
All right, so let me say this here in my closing. My closing remarks, not necessarily the reviews or the agreement with Dr. Tracy, But I'm saying this just as to my viewers and those that are out there. Listen, life is always worth living.
Yes.
You don't ever want to think about not being here. You can take control of your life, whether it's in small doses or in big steps, however what's comfortable and works for you. Life is worth living because if you're still alive, you're here for a reason. Continue on. Make life happen. Don't let life take you, but you take life and you grab it.
Yes.
So I just want to say, I'm your host, Paula Shelby, here on Digging Deep with Paula. Until the next time, listen, you take control of your day. Don't let your day take control of you. Have a good evening. God bless.